well, we'll call this meeting to order. Thanks everybody who made it in today on this hot, muggy day. And so our first item is the approval of the minutes from the April 1st meeting.
We have one edit to the meeting minutes. We realized that we spelled Ann's last name wrong, so that will be updated in the minutes.
Okay. Did anybody else have any other issues?
No.
I had issues not seeing them to start with, but now otherwise fine. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes as suggested by
All right.
Jessica.
I second it.
Okay. All right. All in favor of approving the minutes, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Okay, staff.
Y'all have to excuse me. I'm going to bring my water up here. I had a 3.5-hour budget meeting this morning. I told Cece I've already used all my words for today. We're going to try to make it through this. So your first item on your regular agenda is item 3A, discuss and consider a certificate of appropriateness for requested properties along Houston Street and North Mound Street. This is very similar to a case that you saw back in February. This is installation of fiber lines along these streets, so there's not exact addresses, but essentially in the right-of-way along these streets. The applicant is Vexus, Caleb Oden, who is the applicant. They are requesting to bore underground and install 4 permanent utility boxes. This is, like I mentioned, similar to February, to where they'll be boring underground, so this is not disturbing earth all the way across the top. It's digging essentially pits, boring under it with machinery, and then installing these 4 utility boxes. 2 of them will be flat. Sorry, this is the area. 2 of them will be flat, which is over on your right-hand side, and 2 are what they call the flower pot utility boxes, so they're round. So the portion that the public will see is essentially the green topper. Everything else will be flush to the ground, so you won't see this big 2-foot box. You'll just see a little portion at the top. This is in the Washington Square Historic District, so there are a lot of archaeological remains there. Most of our fiber companies have archaeologists on staff, or at least contract with them, to check the pits as they're dug. And staff has reviewed this, and city ordinance criteria B, C, I, and K relate to this request. And I'm happy to answer any questions after public comment.
So at this time, we'll open it for public comment. Seeing none, does anybody have questions of staff? I have a question. So you said most have. Will there be an archaeologist on site available, since we will be digging into?
Sure. So when I spoke to Mr. Oden, they said that their staff do the digging, and if they see anything, pottery shards, anything that they don't know what it is, they're used to digging up rocks and screws and things like that. If there's anything that raises their eyebrows, then they call their archaeologist out to look. They stop digging at that point until they have a recommendation from their archaeologist, is what they have indicated that they do on all their projects.
The only thing I have as a comment to make is they don't exactly have a great track record with the city here so far, being one of the people who has complained, that I think we should ask for them to have an archaeologist, the least they can do.
And that could be part of the approval with the consideration that archaeologists be on site during the boring process of it. Of course, they don't know what they disturb when the bore goes through. We also don't see that portion either, and it's not necessarily viewable by the public, but we can definitely request that of them.
Okay.
For the four utility boxes.
Correct, because that's the area that really they will be digging down the dirt and bringing the dirt up. Everything else is just a hole, and then they bore through it using that horizontal directional bore that I learned about last time. We did this in February. And the intent is to do fiber to 504, 506, 507, 508, 510, 512, Houston Street, and then 800 Mound Street.
Which is a good thing. Yes. Any other questions of staff? Right. Hear a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the April 1st meeting.
All right. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All
motion. I mean, we could accept it under the provision as they do get an on-site archaeologist while they're digging.
Will that be extra cost to us or the taxpayer, or is that something they absorb?
No, that is something that the company incurs.
Okay.
So how I state it, see if this is that we, subject to approval of 2024-012, that it meets B, C, I, and K with the addition of a archaeologist on site when digging the holes, utility holes.
Yes.
Okay. So that's my second. All right, any discussion? Okay, yeah, this is very similar to the previous one we had.
It is. It's just a few blocks over.
Yeah. All right, in that case, all in favor of the motion, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, thank you.
Our next item is item 3B, which is a COA request for the property located at 116 South Pecan Street. The applicant is Lynn Myers with Brushing Up Knack, and the property owner is J.W. Ramsher. They are requesting to install a 4-foot by 8-foot mural on the south side of this building with wooden decorative trim around it. The mural has been painted on a piece of substrate that would be installed on top of the existing bricks using bolts. The applicant is also requesting to do a wooden trim around the top, bottom, and sides of this mural. It would be wood frame. All of the wood would be screwed into the existing brick and would give the overall mural a dimension of 10 feet by 11.5 feet. The applicant has stated they intend on, when they screw into the brick, doing the silicone in the screw holes, similar to like on the mural plaques. This building, 116 South Pecan Street, is listed as contributing to the Downtown Historic District. It was built around 1900, underwent a huge facelift in 2014. At some point, a lot of the character-defining features were removed from the building. Then in 2014, the owner did an extensive restoration project and redid the south and east side facades to take them back to the original brick, and then restore some of the architectural details on the front of the building. And I have a few pictures here. So this is a proposal that was submitted by the applicant. In the middle is the mural that has been painted on a substrate, and then the items around it are the wood framing. And so you can see the dimensions here. Here's a map of the property. And of course, this is the Annie Huey building, Dolly's Diner, however you call it. And so they were talking about this south side. There is a ghost mural closer to the front. The applicant, who is also here and can speak to this as well, has said they do not have an exact placement for this mural picked out, just somewhere on that wall, and be happy to take your direction. Staff has reviewed this and finds that city ordinance criteria B, C, D, E, F, J, and K all apply. I'm sorry. No, you're fine. And I'm happy to answer any questions after public comment, and like I mentioned, the applicant is here as well.
Okay. All right, so at this time, we open for public comment.
Okay, thank you. I'm Lynn Myers with Brushing Up Knack, and this is Michelle Filer, who is the artist. So as we mentioned, the painting is painted on wood. It's 8 by 10, right?
8 by 4 by 8 is
4
the
by 8,
painting.
excuse me, 4 by 8. Then the structure around it is going to make it look like a retablo. So each side will be 2 feet. So they'll look like doors that would close, but they will be permanently open. There will be a small structure at the bottom because the sidewalk has a slight slant, and so we need to put something there just to make sure it's supported. And then at the top, there's kind of a dome, and then there'll be a cross at the very top. So the theme of this is Our Lady of Pilar, and it's on Pilar Street. I do have on my phone, bring it back up, a picture, which you can pass this around. This is what the wooden structure is. We had this done by a really good carpenter here in town, so it's not just like a typical frame. It's really beautifully crafted.
And there's a historic plaque on the corner of the CVB explaining the Lady of Pilar.
So
This is the
questions for
public
us?
comment section
Okay.
before question and
All
answer.
right, so that's the end of my comments. Thank you.
Brad Ball, 35 North Mill. I'm not against this, but would you allow a sign this large on the wall on a board screwed in
That's gonna be my question.
with a wood frame?
Depends
We're
on the
not for
board and the
sure.
sign,
Well, I
but
mean, are we
yes.
setting a precedent?
So, and this is your comment, so,
Yeah, I think you need to think about that because you are setting a precedent. Because maybe it won't always be the Lady of Pilar. It might be the Man of La Mancha.
all right. Anybody else for public comment? All right, this time we'll close for public comment. All right, so questions of staff, we usually do staff first.
I have a question. I pay attention to verbs.
Okay.
The mural has already been painted?
Correct. On a separate piece of wood that would be attached
It's
to the
already
building.
been done?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to know.
In our notes, it says if painted on the wall, so that's not,
It's been painted separately and they're gonna attach it to the wall.
Correct. So the applicant, and they can speak to this as well, but
That's
in
all
the,
I wanted to know, if it's already been done.
yes, the mural has been painted on a separate piece of wood. Originally, the applicant had thought to paint it on the brick, but in an effort to preserve the brick, instead went this route. And so they did provide an example of what it would have looked like painted on the brick, but instead, this is the request you have in front of you.
Perky, Brad does make a valid point. We have in the past not allowed drilling in this brick, as you know. And this sounds like a whole lot of structure.
Okay.
Do we have other questions of staff, and then maybe can have questions of the applicant?
The ghost image that's there, how old is that? How far back does that go?
Early to mid 1900s. I don't know the exact date of that one, but it's one of the areas that was painstakingly restored. Right under it, those of y'all that remember walking past this building when it was in very bad shape, remember right under that's where all the bricks were falling out, and the public would just pick them up and stack them back. And so all of that wall has been, the brickwork has been restored. The ghost mural is probably from the mid 1900s, but I don't have an exact date.
Okay.
Well, I have, no, do you have questions? of staff?
yes, is there any other place that a mural's been done on wood and placed on any historic building?
As far as in Nacogdoches, no, ma'am, I don't believe so. Our last murals and painting that we looked at were being painted directly on brick that was currently painted. So as of right now, HLPC has not reviewed or approved anything painted on a separate piece of wood and installed.
Okay, and then how many more murals are there going to be? Is this it? Who approves the murals?
So as far as number of murals that would come before y'all, that would be a question for the applicant. Staff has a responsibility that if someone puts together a COA and it's complete and fits our ordinance, we present it to HLPC. So we don't have a cap or a definite number. The applicant can let you know how many they have planned. And as far as reviewing murals, y'all are reviewing the change to the facade, essentially. If they paint 2 colors or 40 colors, it would come before y'all because it could have a change in the overall historic appearance of the building. Also, this would come before y'all because it's screwing into historic brick,
Right.
Doing a rather large art installation. And so that would come before y'all not necessarily for the painting, because what's painted on the wood isn't necessarily what we're looking at. It's more the installation of the wood onto the brick. So that's why this item's come before y'all.
Any other questions of staff? We can always come back to that. I think we probably have questions of the applicant. I know I have a question of the applicant. All right, so I'll start because I have a question. I'm sure there's some others. How many, it's not clear, Because this is multiple, you have your central part and your sides, the top and the bottom. How many screw holes are we looking at here? How much is gonna to support this large wooden
Yeah,
object?
our hope is to do as few as possible. So I can't give you an exact number, but probably at least a dozen.
Also, the painting is not gonna be screwed into the brick, it's gonna be screwed onto the framework. So the only screws will be on the framework to hold it up on the building.
So is your framework the way that you have in the packet here looks like 4 separate pieces? Left side, right side, top, and then bottom?
And then,
And some kind of frame, you mentioned
It's-
some kind of frame on the bottom to hold it up.
Yeah, we may possibly put something there at the bottom because,
Will that be screwed in at the
street-
wall itself?
It could be-
probably,
or it could be screwed into the frame, like,
Going
support
up.
systems up,
maybe,
So that could be more screws itself.
into the
possibly.
frame.
There's a frame on the back of this,
Right.
right, and so the frame is what gets screwed into the wall, and then this attaches to the frame.
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other questions of the applicant?
I'm not a carpenter, but I make up that it's gonna be way, way many more screws than 12, considering the size, the weight, and what size screws and bolts and, I mean,
So
do you have any, do you have any idea?
I don't have the details of the size of the screws, no.
Have
Or
y'all
the amount.
investigated any alternate way of attaching this without screwing into the brick?
Like glue?
What have we done in the past, Perky, haven't with plaques?
Screws, yeah.
We have, we've let screws happen?
Well, yeah, usually into the mortar.
Because I thought we just had one recently where they were going to do a glue on.
No, not the glue, because that traps the water.
Well, but they were putting floaters between it.
Right, but it was the screws, they were screwing in there.
Well, the same thing's gonna have to, they're gonna have space for moisture not to be trapped. I don't know, I love the image, but concerned about all the screw holes.
Have you decided the exact location? You said you weren't sure yet, just somewhere on this wall. Will it be like the first part or the second part, or?
It really doesn't matter whether we put it over the ghost image or further west. You know, we're kind of leaving that up to you. If you want to retain the ghost image the way it is, then we won't put it in front of that.
Does anyone know the dimensions of the 3 sections of the building?
Yeah. It says,
The sides are,
Not the
building.
image,
Between the two.
oh, the
between the-
building?
There's the
yeah, of the
flashers
building.
on there.
like from here to here, here to here.
Throw it on the screen, I'll count the brick and tell you if you want.
Yeah, like,
That's Charles.
Maybe I will, maybe I
Charles,
won't.
can I count 'em?
so,
Flat.
3, 4,
Charles good
5,
at
6,
arithmetic.
I mean,
Yeah,
He can
these windows are
if we could
probably the
even,
same
right, yes,
between
okay.
there, so it's wider in the middle
Yep.
section, clearly, because you have the 3 windows.
Right.
Maybe
Is this-
not.
No, because
It's at least 13 feet.
he says it's at least 13
13 feet, okay, so this is 10,
plus
so
the mortar joint.
that's the,
And I don't know about width, I can't see the lines well enough to count.
so this
Okay.
is 10, I'm just trying to get some visual perspective, so if it's 13 feet and this is
The
10,
brick,
foot
I
and a
know
half
what
on each
size the brick
side,
is, so I can tell you how many inches it is.
that's pretty big. Let's see, how tall, 11. Charles, how tall is it to that first
Well, it's at least 13 feet.
wide, but how,
I don't know
Yeah, I was
about
gonna
width,
say
I
at
can't
least
see the
13, I'm
lines
just
well enough to count the brick.
estimating on these.
And you know, those old brick, they're all different sizes. The width's
Right.
pretty much consistent, so I can count the height, but I can't count the width.
so 13 feet high.
Yeah, about 13 feet. It's at least 13 feet high, I believe.
Okay, so that, and this is 11 and a half high. So
The
you're,
backside's a little taller, if you'll notice how the lines run. It's like at least a foot taller on the lower side.
Just a little bit of an incline.
As it inclines down.
right, and then, so it basically will take up the entire, say, pretend like we say middle section, it would take up the entire middle section.
For all intents and purposes.
Without
Right.
covering the decorative detail of the brick transition.
But that whole section would be taken up by the mural.
I don't think
I
quite.
don't think it would.
No,
I
it's,
don't
you
think
said it's 8
it's
feet
that
wide, didn't you?
No, it's 10 feet
10
wide,
feet
11 and a
wide.
half feet tall.
Okay, I thought you said it was 8 feet wide. If it's 10 feet wide, it'll take up most of it. Not all of it.
No,
though.
the painting is 4 feet wide and the two panels
So here you
are
go.
No,
about
that's right.
2
10 feet total.
The
2
whole
feet wide,
project.
2.5 feet apiece.
So that's 7, that's 9 feet wide then.
Yes, 5, 2.5, 2.5, 10, and 11 and a half tall.
It's 4, 2.5, 2.5, 10, didn't it, or is it 5?
It says 5.
Okay.
The painting itself is 4, but then you have a frame around it, correct?
I have more concern about the attachment of it and not the image. To me, the image is lovely and the whole idea is lovely. But just the attachment to the building is my only concern.
I think my concern's more about, someone spent a lot of money to restore that building, the Dietrich Ruff building. It looks beautiful. And I don't think we need to be covering it with any sign, quite honestly.
We have other questions of applicant before we can get into discussion.
Nope.
All right, thank you.
See, so this is
I remember working on preserving the ghost sign.
I have a motion.
All right, you have a motion. Make a motion, please.
Okay, I make a motion that we decline this one on the basis of, let's see, item, I think it was A and B, but just that we decline, I think it's significant alteration of a building on B, and B's good enough. It's a significant change in our Dietrich Rolf building, and not, the concept's wonderful, but this will really change the building, and so that's my motion.
I second that motion.
So discussion. I'll say, I remember when this was getting done and the work we did to preserve that this committee did to ensure that ghost sign was there and preserved. And the size and the scale is very large for something. Doesn't mean there's not an appropriate place elsewhere, but this is not it. So I agree. And a lot of screw holes in this building. So, any other comments?
It's a lovely, lovely mural and concept.
I agree.
It's wonderful.
I agree also.
So, okay, in that case, hearing any other comments for discussion? All right, so all in favor of the motion as stated, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next one.
Our next item is item 3C. This is a certificate of appropriateness for 517 East Main Street. The applicant is Lynn Myers with Brushing Up Neck, and then the owner of the property is Johnny Austin. And then the COA application was actually signed by the property manager, who has the ability to submit things and approve them. So the applicant is requesting to paint a 8-foot by 5-foot section of the east exterior wall on the building at 517 East Main Street. They're requesting to do a poster-style mural reminiscent of the old military recruitment posters, kind of pinup style. This building at 517 East Main, it was built in 1950. It's listed as non-contributing to the downtown historic district. It kind of falls outside of our period of significance. It is a essentially concrete block structure, and the entire exterior is currently painted. City staff find that B, C, D, H, J, and K of our city ordinances apply to this request. You can see here, this was also submitted by the applicant. This is an example of the style of painting they want to do, and then an approximate placement on that east side of the building, which is currently painted a grayish blue. And I'm happy to answer any questions after public comment.
So this isn't, oh, sorry.
That's all right. So at this time, we'll open for public comment.
This is just a mock-up of what Michelle did for the mural. But obviously, it'll be larger than this and it'll be on the wall. And the building used to be an Air Force recruitment office, so that's why we kind of went with the idea of the pinup girl and the Air Force. Except at that time, it was not called Air Force, it was the Army Air Force. So that'll be changed down here in the letter.
Yeah, it didn't exist yet.
Thank you.
That's all I have to say.
Anybody else for public comment? All right, we'll close public comment. Questions for staff?
Did you say it was contributing or non-contributing?
It is non-contributing.
Okay.
Even though it's 75 years old.
Yeah, I believe our period of significance for the downtown historic district is really 1880s to about 1920 or so, I believe, in our National Register nomination.
One way or another, it's non-contributing.
Correct.
Okay.
As of right now in our books, it is non-contributing.
Okay.
Until we get to a new survey.
Yeah, as of today. yeah.
Besides, the material allows it to be screened.
But this one's not getting through, this is just paint.
Yeah, no, it's.
Yeah. So anybody have questions of staff? Go down our list. Any questions of the applicant? Since we do have the applicant.
I have a question. Is the, and I don't know, is the airplane appropriate time frame per the period? The bomber, I mean, is that,
It's a World War II airplane.
okay, and is that World War II outfit for the pinup girl?
Can you all come up just so we can get you on the record? I mean, on the recording, sorry.
That I don't know.
I mean, as far as the clothes.
Yeah, so we don't know if that's the right uniform or, we all love our military, of course, so I just want to be militarily appropriate, if that's even a word. If the bomber and the uniform and all that go together.
If they're historically accurate, yeah.
And if they're from the same time period.
Yes.
I think is what you're asking.
We can research that.
Yes.
I mean, not to, be critical of your artwork, which is wonderful, nothing like that. But as far as putting it on one of the non-contributing historic buildings, and how, and this is going to be, what's the measurement?
8 by 5.
8 by 5. Okay. And painted directly on it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I am,
I mean, this is just a mock-up,
And this
so
is-
it's not, it's just a mock-up to show the client what it would be like.
Meaning it's, how different would it be then? How different are mock-ups versus the actual?
In other words, we can only approve what you're presenting.
Right, I
So
mean,
if
if you-
you'd like
if
to
you want
present
to-
this, then present it, and we'll either deny it, don't you think?
that's why I have to ask.
Because
I mean,
if
we wanna-
Yeah, if we don't
I
know,
mean, this is, it'll be this background, there'll be an airplane, there'll be her,
Right.
and like we said, changing the lettering.
I have a question. We'll
So are
ask
you
staff.
saying if we change the uniform a little bit, then we'd have to come back?
we're just asking questions right now.
Oh, okay, I'm just trying to understand.
I mean,
So, yeah, the question being asked is, did you all specifically model the plane and her uniform on known contemporary planes and uniforms of the World War II area?
I
Era.
took a picture of an airplane from World War II, and I took a picture of a girl in an Air Force uniform.
Yeah.
I wanna say one
yeah.
If the building was in 1950, that is post-World War II.
Yeah.
So, we're just,
So,
Could be, but it also could be possibly still using that plane, that uniform
well,
in
that's what I'm
1950,
saying, so
so keep that in
why are
mind.
we
Yeah.
into the weeds on the,
Well,
on content, it's should
You know,
we
they
do it
used
or
it for a
not,
long time, so.
you know?
okay, any other questions of the applicants? Okay, no. So, back to staff question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So in the past, I know it's been not content of signs, and this would be falling under that. Can you remind us?
Correct. So typically in the past, and per our ordinances, HLPC is not reviewing, and typically the exact wording, exact content of the image. It's more the colors, what is appropriate to, what surface is appropriate to paint, if it's a previously painted surface, currently painted surface. We have been bringing forward items to y'all, murals and additional paintings, rather than administratively approving those, because a new image on a building that's currently one color, if now you're painting a mural, any other depiction, it could change the overall look of the building. So we're not necessarily looking for, I like this plane or that plane, or this color or that color. It's more, would this new installation alter the historic facade of the building? Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes. Yeah, okay.
So you're, just make it clear, we're not have anything to do with the content of this sign, whether we want, actually, whether it's Air Force or not, we're approving a poster-sized, some poster at that point. Is that right?
Correct. You are
Okay, let's make it
reviewing
clear.
a painting of this size, this scale, at this location with multiple colors, and
It
this
could
is
be-
essentially the mock-up that was presented to
And
staff.
they're presenting it to us right now, this is what we think it's gonna look like, but we have no authority over that, is that what you're saying?
As long as
I
it,
just wanna make everything clear what we're,
yes, so what y'all are reviewing, as long as it fits within these parameters, what the applicant has applied for is a poster-style mural reminiscent of military recruitment posters and pinup art. So as long as it fits within this space, this size, painted directly on the building, and kind of fits these parameters. But they are not requesting approval of this exact painting.
Alright.
Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
yeah, that's what I want to be real clear that we're.
Can I ask, who does approve the exact paintings
Nobody.
and murals?
There's,
The owner
yeah, so the owner, of course, has final.
Of the
of the
owner
building?
of the building?
Yes,
Right.
correct, the owner of the building. So HLPC approves this alteration to the exterior facade. The owner has signed off on this application, but if they decide tomorrow, I hate this painting, I want to go with something else, then they would come back and reapply. Because if they wanted to paint a bigger space, different layout, things like that, because ultimately the owner owns the property, so they can say what happens to it.
Sure.
But any exterior change would have to come before HLPC.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion, that we approve 2024-014 to paint an 8 by 5 foot section of the wall and create a mural, with the strong suggestion, because of the popularity of military topics, that they strongly suggest they have accurate, historically accurate planes and uniform, thank you. Because quite frankly, visitors, military buffs know their stuff.
Sure do.
There's still public comment.
I second that.
When can we?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, all right, so yes, I've been told yes, we can, so we'll open for public comment.
Same guy. Up in Adam,
Uh-huh,
is that a phrase from the military? Because it looks more like it's a phrase from the painting. Is it referring to the
You're making
plane or
comment.
to the shirt?
I can't, yeah,
Yeah.
so, okay.
They-
We'll close public comment.
And,
Yes.
sorry.
No.
I believe that's the area the applicant said would be changed to the Army Air Force wording rather than the up and atom. Is that correct?
Yes, but it was, up and Adam was taken off of a recruitment poster.
And it was join the U.S. Air Force, I don't
Yeah.
change.
Down here, join
Join
the
the
US
US
Air Force will be Army Air Force.
But the up and Adam was off of a vintage recruitment poster.
Okay. Thank you for that. All right, so we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The same sign? Okay. With that, all right, staff, what's next?
That is all.
Our dates, no, we're looking at June, so we're not having a funky date with 4th of July yet.
Correct, yeah, June, will be our, I believe it's June 3rd, is our next meeting, at 4 o'clock right in here.
All right,
Okay.
thank you so much.